Welcome to this week's edition of the Tirconaill Tribune blog. Just in the last couple of hours we've come out of a lengthy briefing with the Assistant Chief Medical Officer for the country, Dr. Ronan Glynn, and he has made a number of front pages, quite obviously. He has made it very clear why our levels are so high in Donegal, with one particular instance that he produced on a slide, where in 1 week funeral alone, over a 4-week period, a total of 84 people tested positive. Dr. Anthony Breslin, who accompanied him, provided a lot of local information, and both men added their voices, asking people to take extra care, and sooner rather than later. They predicted that if this happens, Donegal's numbers will start falling. He also noted, Eamon, that he made some references to the comments made by Dr. Tony Houlihan, the Chief Medical Officer, last Friday.
Yeah, there was, I suppose in some ways he had to stand by, although he was strongly questioned over the manner of the messaging, there was a lot of press from across the county there. So I know that they didn't maybe particularly want to say that they had a strong view on issues like the Garda phone line and that's been set up to clamp down, but I suppose he did definitely very much roll in behind Tony Houlihan's message. I think that the headline there we have, "Stop pushing the boundaries," that's the message he wanted to get across, I suppose, and I got maybe not a sense of backtracking from it, but he was rolling. He was trying to roll a kind of a positive message, maybe on the back of what had been a few tough days for that messaging across the county.
But he didn't withdraw anything.
No.
This is the clear message. He stated very clearly there that, insofar as the Friday briefing was concerned, that comments made by Dr. Holland are being taken out of context, with people focusing on specifics. And I thought that was important, rather than the full message advising people in the best interest of their health and well-being. However, he did accept that there were divergent views on the messages. But anyway, there were some revealing slides produced there this afternoon that left us in no doubt whatsoever we still have a mountain to climb.
Stark figures.
And their message, there was nothing new in their message.
No.
It was just re-emphasising over and over again that the community has the control of this in their own hands by simply obeying the regulations that are laid down.
Yeah.
And without ever going either way or the other to say that we were breaking them or not breaking them. He kept emphasising that, and so did
Anthony Breslin.
Did Dr. Breslin. That was an interesting hour. You have another very expensive looking story.
Aye.
You live in a very expensive part of Donegal, up around that Portnablai area, where they're looking for nearly €1 million for houses.
There, that's one now. It's a story it's a follow on from a story I had a few weeks back there, where there was a lovely old period property in Marble Hill up on the market called Ochiltree, that relates to the founders of the house, the Law family. I understand they had some connections to a family in Scotland, or one of the wives had a connection to Scotland, and that was part of the family legacy. But Ochiltree is on the market, as we know, for the last few weeks, but the price has been revealed, and it's a 5-bedroom property, 350 square metre house, detached, set on a secluded 15-acre forested site near Marble Hill Beach in Port, and it's listed with a guide price of $950,000. A cool figure for that. Who do you think would be the kind of the people might consider buying the like of that, John?
Are there enough people around that area with that kind of money to push it over $1 million? Or will it be a local buyer at all?
That's the question there. It's very popular with tourists. Nice amenities on your doorstep, the Shandon Hotel, the beach, all those lovely things. It'll be interesting. It's a period property. It's built in the 1920s or thereabouts.
That will be attractive enough, probably, for overseas people to have a look at that.
Yeah, you wouldn't be, I suppose
potentially
the figure tells you who they're going at, and I suppose if that's a guide price, we know that there's a lot smaller houses in that area that fetched phenomenal figures in the last couple of years. So it'll be interesting to see that. There's not many of them went on the market with 15 acres sitting prime with the beach as well. So
that is one of its big selling points, apart from the, I don't know, what is the architecture of that house like? Because looking at the photograph there, it's an aerial photograph. It probably doesn't do it justice at all, does it?
No, when you go into it, you'll see that there's nice sunken garden and different things like that there. But the house in itself, I suppose, of its time, it's relatively plain on the inside. A lot of the original kind of infrastructure of the house is kind of there. You can see all the pipes and the the radiators and things like that there, and flag floor. So a lot of the original features are still there. So I'm sure someone with deep enough pockets could make a fine job of it. Or, you never know, could be another wee hotel or something like that, or a boutique kind of place.
Would it be suited for a hotel? Big enough, is it?
Well,
Extensions?
maybe, you see
all
how
that kind of
exclusive
thing?
some of these things have gotten in the recent years.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know. So that's up on the market if anybody wants to go to buy.
We're going inside the paper now to look at a feature, a very, very important one. Bobby Sands, our revenge will be the laughter of our children. This is Paddy McMenamin's reflection on 40 years ago, since the death of Bobby Sands after 60 days on hunger strike in the Hitch blocks. And it was I remember the era quite well, and the black flag demonstrations just outside our door here, literally. We weren't here at the time, of course. But there's new controversy emerging today in that a piece of information, a blog written by Anthony McIntyre, a former IRA ex-prisoner. He writes under the pensive pen, and he claims that a handwritten letter by Bobby Sands 4 days before his hunger strike and smuggled out of the prison was later typed up, and where he wished to be buried in a grave in the Irish Republic. Now that's going to be very hotly contested. He is laid to rest, of course, in Milltown Cemetery in West Belfast. One of the original burial ground for the Northern Republicans.
Yeah.
So this story has surfaced today. I listened to Anthony McIntyre on BBC Radio Ulster earlier on with William Crawley, and he was very stoutly defending whether this was an accurate account or was it a fake. He had absolutely no doubt at all. You see, when something like that
it was genuine.
Out, yeah. Anthony McIntyre is seen as an arch critic of the IRA as well. You know, he was a member of, and then thereafter he has been a critic of them ever since. But it's 66 days, some of the deepest and most troublesome time, very well captured by Paddy McMenamin when he just says that the British confirmed the death in a short statement 30 minutes later. It was 1:17 a.m. on that fateful morning, and the radio news announcer just simply said, Bobby Sands is dead. So that's very well worth reading.
That's a good
As
story.
Always, very well penned, lovely photography, very haunting photographs, and there's this legendary
mural up on the wall
mural
there.
up there on the walls. Bobby Sands, MEP, poet, Gaeilgeoir revolutionary, IRA volunteer.
Yeah, good story. Yeah.
But that is well worth reading, and then we move on.
Yeah, we have
to our great friend, the late Michael O'Donnell.
A sad story that John, that we have to pen a sad farewell from Donegal to Michael Jack, as he was known to everybody. Michael was a bit of a legend, really, when it came to photography. He was known throughout the county, throughout the country, and there was a huge outpouring of grief at the weekend. And when it was announced that he passed away, he'd been having a battle there with his health there for a recent time. And there's not many people who I'd say have seen the pictures of him that have been around since that didn't recognise him from standing on the sidelines at many's a game around the county, and indeed earlier on he covered plenty of other functions and different things as well. John, I
kept meeting Michael over the years in all kinds of weather and in all kinds of locations, from small primary school events like the summer camps and things like
green
that.
Flags and all those things.
Yes, and he was always smiley. He always had a mountain of camera gear on his shoulders. You need a golf cart to carry them. But Michael was a legendary figure. He was a wedding photographer, sure, he was a social photographer. He was just over in Glenties. He promoted Glenties and the local football club, the Gaelic club, like nowhere else on earth. His passing is a big loss.
A big loss. And four decades working in the press, I suppose, across Donegal. So like his work came from a big family. Very well known family, very respected family down in Glenties, so it'll be a sad time for all that, because he had a great many friends all across the gambit from.
And it would seem that given the COVID restrictions, he had a very, very, very wonderful funeral.
I know there was a lot of guard of honour, and I think been very respectful with the.
I think so.
I was looking at all the even people like, obviously all the the local press and people like that were wading in, but even the likes of Barry McGuigan and people like that, you know,
Some years ago, yeah.
So like it went far and wide, and all the papers in the north
Obviously.
and all, yeah.
Anywhere there was a photograph to be taken, Michael was there. But some of his crowd scenes from the football matches, people just unawares that he was there even.
Aye.
Probably using a very big lens, picked them out, and they were in the Democrat on the Thursday.
Aye.
And it became a big selling point because everybody wanted that picture. He knew how to take a picture. He knew how to sell a picture.
I noticed the filling station down, the new filling station down in Donegal town. As you walk into it, they have a whole wall dedicated to one crowd photograph from a Donegal football game, and I just wonder, is it one of Michael Jack's, because it is typical of what he used to do, and I'm sure everybody that comes and goes, there's hundreds of faces on the crowd, and it's worth seeing that there.
He had an amazing talent. He had an amazing wit and a sense of humour. I have never yet saw Michael, God rest him, without a big smile on his face, regardless. Like, he was out in all weathers.
Aye. He was always decked out, and as you said, armed with all the best of the
and
gear.
Many of those football grounds around the county that he covered were wind blown, they were windswept in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
He stayed on to the very last throw of the dice.
Tough as nails, but always with good humour and good crack.
Let us fondly remember his passing and sympathise with his family. And we move from that then to a feature page we have, which we don't do an awful lot of, Where's Ice Cream. There's a design display at Where's new ice cream parlour. And Where's are synonymous with good ice cream.
Famous cones.
Yeah, they opened their new parlour there last week and has become Donegal's top stop for this new range, and there are countless selections where you decide what you want, and it's served up in double quick time. Interestingly enough, Where's will be one of the leading names in ice cream going back for 65 years. Hugh Where's, whom I was talking to the other evening, would have went out along with another legendary man, the late George Greer, to the sports days back in the day when nobody knew what an ice cream cone was. You just saw it at a sports day, but not again until the following year.
They would go around the county. They
went around the local area. They had a pickup van, they had a rented van, but they got there anyway.
Yeah.
Initially, there was no fridges,
Yeah.
so they had these canvas bags filled with ice cubes.
That's what it was.
And they kept getting the bags stocked up throughout the afternoon from Letterkenny. Very entrepreneurial. Let's see, these bags actually were called shippers, and they were frozen in Letterkenny up at the old Fiesta by the Keeney brothers.
Right.
And then throughout the day, Dublin Dairies kept the supply chain running. It's completely different today, but that is that story, and it adds a bit of colour and a bit of anecdote to the whole story. We'll take a look at the editorial, because 100 years ago, unionism was the union was founded 100 years ago there on Monday. The border was created, and we're just reflecting on that in the editorial, that this week marks Northern Ireland's century of partition, which has witnessed too much bloodshed, murder, and the landscape polarised and divided. And we're reflecting on less than a fortnight ago, Arlene Foster thought she was avoiding further damage by abstaining in a vote to ban so-called conversion therapy, which is regarded, well, not regarded, but is in fact a discredited practice that aims to make gay people heterosexual. We're about to get a new leader of the DUP in Northern Ireland, and that's going to be a long, tricky road, and it's going to be a very difficult one, because whilst Arlene Foster may have been seen as fairly static, if they're going to move to the left of that, the DUP is in for a whole lot of bother. Those are some of the stories. We have a little story here on Chinese Cup success for Tirconaill man. A Tirconaill man was celebrating over the weekend after his terrific hat-trick helped his team win a provincial cup in China. Mark Gallagher, who has been based in Nanning City since August 2017, was a member of the Rio sports side that defeated Hao Xing. Forget that, my Chinese is very poor. But
they brush up on that.
They won the match 5-3 in the 8-a-side final. And he, before emigrating to take up a teaching post in China, Gallagher was very well known in local sport, in GAA with Tirconaill and in soccer with Kilmacrenan Celtic and Rathmullen Celtic. So those are a flavour of some of the stories in this week's paper, and perhaps we'll just leave it at that there and remind you that you can purchase the paper online at Tribune.com, and we have a live blog at the same address. See you then.
Thanks. Bye-bye.